Welcome back. You can call us now with questions about the polio virus. The number to call is 0808-054-2233. That's 0808-054-2233. Now, this virus, you said 2019 is the next date. But this particular virus, reports have it that they've not seen this strain, or the most similar strain to this that they've seen was 2011.
Yeah.
That was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Do you think the WHO maybe should review their standards? I mean, it's been around for 5 years.
So there are speculations that perhaps it's been there silently for that long. And since the strain is so similar to the 2011 one. So I think that active surveillance, putting more effort in surveillance will be key, so that we're able to say that we have not seen any case at all, even in the light of the insurgency and inaccessible areas.
Now, when you talk about surveillance and surveillance systems, what really, in practical terms, are we talking about?
Okay, so you can have it clinically, in this case, they saw children with the paralysis. You can have it laboratory, and that's when you take randomly stool samples.
They actually test for polio?
Oh yes, in the stool samples. And so that is even a very good sensitive way of doing it, because you've not seen anything, but you're randomly taking stools. As long as you still have people defecating here and there. So you should take stool samples when that is seen, and then check it again and see whether it's so. Surveillance is, and then you have a reporting system whereby anywhere they're able to, give suspicion. It's nice to have suspicion and then it's countered as negative than not to have, than to miss it entirely.
What you mean is, if I get you right, is suspicion concerning symptoms.
Concerning symptoms.
Okay, so could you quickly take us through the symptoms again?
Okay, so, polio, like many viral illnesses, fever, fatigue, vomiting, nausea, okay, the person could have diarrhea. What really makes it polio sometimes, and in which case it's only a few that will happen to, is the paralysis. So,
but we don't want to wait for the
paralysis. We don't want to wait for
so
paralysis. So when you're in areas, like if you walk in areas that you know that this area is prone, and of course we are sure the Northeast and Borno State and those kind of states are prone, then you should have a higher index of suspicion. So you have children coming down with similar viremia kind of illnesses. You can take their stool sample and send it to the laboratory and let it get tested.
I guess that's what makes polio eradication such an expensive venture.
It is an expensive.
Billions have already been put into it, and it looks like billions more are going in.
And it's worth the billions more when you calculate the loss from the fact that we still have polio with us. So it's worth spending more money on polio vaccination, on vaccinators, getting more vaccinators. I also want to say that to strengthen routine immunization, we must start looking closely at home visitors, people who know that somebody has just had a baby, and who goes to check the person and says, have you been vaccinated? Or who go to their homes and go vaccinate. So as soon as you know a pregnant woman, you're watching her closely, because you have strategic vaccinators around. She's giving birth to the baby. Then you give at birth 6 weeks, 10 weeks, 14 weeks. Another rounds of doses that come up before 5 years.
So people should start checking, one neighbor watches another neighbor, that kind of thing.
Yes.
Even if they have the baby at home.
Even if they have the baby at home. And this is more in underserved areas. So areas that that are already underserved because of weak health systems. You don't have the proper health system. We should tailor our approach. we cannot use what we do in Lagos State, the same style, and do it in up north. We must tailor the approach to suit. If we have people who will not come out themselves to bring a child to the hospital for some reasons, cultural or what, then let's go to the homes. Whatever it will take. If you look at the Indian story, we'll see that they did everything possible. They have such a huge population, but they spent a lot on vaccination booths. Apart from hospitals, they had millions of vaccinators. They had ice packs, millions of ice packs, and all of this was just to make sure that every child was reached.
That's another thing, you know, ice packs, the preservation of the vaccine itself. How are we doing with that? Do you think we can handle that, especially with the power situation and all that?
Yeah, and that's the reason why, you know, you have the ice packs to be able to move small amounts of vaccines. And you already have a vaccine vial monitor that tells you that your vaccine is still potent or not potent. If it's not potent, discard. Oh, yes.
There's a monitor that tells you that.
Monitor.
You know, people are scared sometimes when I go to such places and they're like, how are we sure this thing is even good?
Oh, no, there's a monitor. And once it has turned, there's a gray color and a black color. Once it has changed color and everything looks the same, then it's not potent anymore. Even the vaccinator knows, and that is discarded. So I think with the solar system and so many other kinds of things, we can keep our vaccines safe.
Are there any other things that make for, you know, a strong surveillance system, apart from the things that you've mentioned, the random testing of stools and all that?
High index of suspicion, making sure that you have a strong health system. So I would look at the primary health care, which is where a lot of people would go to first to be able to detect children. And then those are methods to know that.
Does the polio vaccine work in children who are undernourished?
It does work in them. So everybody.
So the weight is not a problem?
Weight is not a problem. Fever is not a problem. Illness is not a problem. Just vaccinate the child. Even if the child is having diarrhea, still vaccinate that child.
Okay, can you take us through what families can do? You've mentioned the high index of suspicion, of course. People, individuals, so that they collaborate with the government to make sure this thing, it could go a lot faster, right, if everybody is on board.
Yeah. So I would say that what we can do is to talk more about individuals, families. Let's look at our things like sanitation and hygiene. Let's look at,
just a minute, let's take this call from Kano. Hello.
Hello.
Could you turn down the volume of your TV set?
I've done that.
Okay, so what's your question?
It is research in Borno State and the insecurity in Borno State. And then the vaccination that I had that was going to go on in Borno. So
could you speak a bit louder?
I said,
I'm afraid we can't get you right now. But hello, are you still there? I think there's a problem with the connection. Just keep trying because we really want to get your question for the doctor to answer. Now, we've been using oral vaccines all this while, but Nigeria was talking about going into using the injections. Yeah. Is this going to be disturbed, delayed, disrupted, or doesn't affect anything?
Oh, it has started. So what is happening now is, just to say that, you know, the difference between the oral and the injection is that the injection is a killed vaccine. It means that what you're giving is a virus that is dead and therefore is not dangerous.
Is there a reason for moving from one to the other?
Yes, there's a reason. When we give the oral, what we give is a bit of a live virus, weakened virus, so that the body will then be able to build up immunity against the main disease.
Okay.
That's the essence of immunization. Now, in this case, when you move from, when you've not had a particular strain for so long, like we've not had the type 2 since 1999.
Okay.
You don't want a case where you're giving the virus and there is no immunity at all for the body to develop
So the person gets polio
so the person
instead of being protected.
Instead of being protected. So in countries where you're sure you have moved towards eradication, you start moving to a killed type.
Let's quickly take a break. We'll take a very short break now and be back to continue this discussion. Please stay with us.